Hey guys, just coming at you guys with a new build. This league we are doing Penance Brand. The reason why I chose Penance Brand is because I don't really play it, and for how cheap a lot of the key items were for it, it was fairly good priced, and it's fantastic mapper. It's good solo, and it's also probably one of the best skills slash play styles to play with an aura bot. That's where it really shines at. So let me just show you guys what it looks like solo. So what we have right now when I'm running solo, I have look at my weapon swap. I run Wrath, Hatred, Zealotry. And the way we can do that is we are taking reservation here, reservation here. We have a reservation on an Alpha's Howl for as a cheap way of doing it right now. That'll change later on. But just as a kind of like to showcase you what it looks like, a week into the league is got double void battery, badge, call the Brotherhoods. We use impulses because Explodey Chest got nerfed. And this is kind of a guaranteed way of chaining. And then we use Storm's Gift to have prolift so we can have chain explosions with impulses. So this is going to be a T16 shipyard map, just to kind of showcase you the map real quick, and then we'll go into a more in-depth guide on exactly how it's played and what you want, what the end game potentially may look like. But here you guys go. So you just go in, just always cast in.
Just need a moment to catch
Penance Brand. As you can see, Penance Brand literally just, or not Penance Brand, but Penance Brand itself has fantastic chaining, clear, and impulses paired with it. It's just a fantastic build. As you can tell right now, though, I am very squishy. 2.6k health. You guys are like, well, that's not a good bosser. It is a little squishy when it comes to bossing. You will have to be a little bit more mechanically inclined. I plan on min-maxing this throughout the league, making it tankier, making sure it gets more damage, etc., etc. This is the stand-in soakers. I'm just gonna show you what it looks like to play in one of these, or in an ultimatum. Basically, what I do is I just keep running in circles like this while casting down. It's very safe. We'll go into why it's very safe. You do have a very good chance of being one-shot, especially much rippier maps. But if you keep moving like this, you generally will do all waves of the ultimatum all the time. But yeah, this is pretty much all you do when it comes to ultimatums. But we'll go ahead and leave that.
It was not to be.
As you saw, we just two-shot the boss, and yeah. So pretty much what you want to do is you just run around, go pop, 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 and it's good. Alright, so let me get into the POB of it. Now, you'll see in the tree, we don't take very much life. Currently, I'm only level 94, but that's okay. So, in terms of items, we use void batteries. They're a very cheap way to get power charge and very decent way to get weapons until you harvest craft weapons, of course. We're using an Alpha's Howl to get as much reservation as we can so we can run our 3 auras. Like I said, impulses, we use this because explode, and with Storm's Gift, it's explode prolift, which is, boom, 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 boom. Very fantastic. Boots, we just use rare boots to cover resistances. Badge is cheap this league. Very good. Maximum frenzy charges is, equal to maximum power charges. And to call the Brotherhoods, we're doing full conversion because we're double dipping. For the belt, we'll be using a Stygian. For reses, of course. And the Hypnotic Eye. For this, you want to have fire damage on it at least. And this will give you Ignite for Cinder Swallow and also for our cluster. For Flask, we're using Warding. It's quality life. I use Curse on it because, I don't like maps with Curse. And we have Impulse, or not Impulses, but we have Alpha's Howl cannot be frozen. So we don't use Freeze on it. You can use Freeze if you don't really care about the curses too much. but I like curse on my mana. Of course, then we have a Cinder Swallow with crit on it. We got Diamond Flask. I have removed Burning and Ignite because that is a really pain in the butt to get ignited with this low HP. Now, normally what I would end up doing is I'll be having a crafted helmet. I'll be using an Arch Demon helmet, a pseudo 8-link. So with like socketed gems have conk, socketed gems have hypothermia, etc. Like people have done in the past ritual leagues. So once I do that, I won't have cannot be frozen, but I will be using my boots for that because I will be getting hopefully T1 life, T1 move speed, crafted cannot be frozen, and then resistances on the suffixes, and maybe onslaught with onslaught effect because that'll give us good cast speed. Then we have a Aziri's Promise and a Quicksilver. Now, I may end up swapping out the Diamond Flask for a bottled, most likely. And then for Ignite, it won't be as bad later on when we get more EHP. But for the time being, I'm just using Diamond because bottles are a little bit expensive. And then we'll go here to the tree. So for jewels, all I have is like resistances and cast speed. It's more resistances coverage here with cold damage. More cast speed, and then something with corrupted blood, which this has cast speed and lightning damage. As you can see here, we took a Thread of Hope. You want to get one with the least amount of negative res. That way you're not too worried about your reses. As you can see, I am barely res capped. We take Divine Wrath because we're using Penance Brand, so we get 25% conversion here. You get 25% conversion on the gloves, and you get 50% conversion on the skill itself. So that's 100% is converted to lightning, and then of course that's converted to cold. And yeah, if you cannot afford Storm Skip with conversion implicit, you can always get a Watcher's Eye with Wrath converts Fizz to lightning. That will work, and then that way you can get a different implicit on your Storm's Gift. And then for the second mod for the Watcher's Eye, I like using Hatred Crit. And the reason why we're using Hatred Crit is because your Impulsa's Explodey now has a base crit chance, so it will hit a lot harder, which is fantastic because it's the same thing as you would have done with Explodey Chest, right? You ran Hatred to scale a physical explosion on Explodey Chest, and that's how it chained and all that good shenanigans. But now the way we're doing it is it's all lightning based damage explosion that we're converting with Call of the Brotherhood. So now it's cold explosion. So now hatred still works for it. We grab some life here. We grab a little bit life here, a little bit life here, a little bit life here. Of course, take Rune Binder. We have to take the mana reservation nodes here. We take Arcane Potency, of course. Take this. Take all the power charges. I have this one anointed, so I save skill points here. With my last 6 levels, I'll probably end up bidding in life. Maybe grabbing something else. Not quite sure yet. Another option would be to add a thread of hope in here. And with the thread of hope here, you can actually grab Light Eater. I believe you can grab Heart of Ice too, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. So that's more pen, ES Leech as well, increased cold damage, and I believe you can go down to Heart and Soul. No, that would have been it'd be physical applications or practical applications, so that's not worth. But that's also an option. But more thread host means more minus res, which we cannot really afford right now with the gear we have. One of the main questions I get asked a lot on stream is, hey, you're using Badge of the Brotherhood, but you don't have Blood Rage or Frenzy on hit. How are you getting frenzies? Well, so I'll show you this in game. If you see here, we have an Elegant Hubris. Now, I roll Caspiro on my Elegant Hubris. And what Caspiro does is it gives you Supreme Ostination. So you completely ignore attribute requirements. So if you look at when I hover over all my stuff, I am missing attributes almost on every single one of pieces of my gear. And because this tree lacks a lot of dex and strength, and also yeah, and then that would require you to get more dex and strength via gear, which then would take up resistances, which is pretty awful. So that's why we want Caspiro. But Elegant Hubris's can actually roll a very good combination of different mods. The one I have right now, and this is the number for it, 59920. But basically, you'll divine these, try to get Caspiro. So my current Elegant Hubris has 10% chance to gain Frenzy Charge on hit. So this is how I generate Frenzy Charges with my build. I also got cast speed here, which with Penance Brand, you want a lot of cast speed. And I'll explain in a moment why. And then I also have 80% increased spell damage here. So, how Penance Brand works. So, Penance Brand creates a magical brand which can attach to a nearby enemy. It periodically activates while attached, so adding an energy. So basically, each activation from an energy is spread, and if the enemy has 20 energy, it will go boom, essentially. So how this exactly works is pretty much you want the brand duration to last exactly 20 energy. So after 20 energy, as you see, each activation will instead deal a pulse of area damage. That's not what you want. You want it to pretty much explode as soon as it hits 20. Because if you look at my POB, my max explosion per brand, so this is per brand, right? It's 3.4 mil. But if you look at the pulsing, the max stage energy pulsing, it says it does more, but so you pretty much want it to pulse and then explode. So exploding is much better. It's really weirdly calculated. So basically, if you look at my clusters, all my clusters, it has brand loyalty remarkable, brand loyalty remarkable, brand loyalty remarkable, and brand loyalty holy conquest. Holy conquest, this is needed for your mapping to feel good. If you do not have Holy Conquest, your mapping will feel terrible. Of course, brand loyalty is fantastic. Its enemies take 4% increased damage for each of your brands attached to them. That is very important. That is a lot of damage. You run 4 of those, they take 20% more damage with 2 brands attached to them. Sorry, each. So it's 4 times 4 times 4 is 16 times that by 2. It's actually 32% more because it's per brand attached, so it's 2, so it's 8 on each. That's a lot of damage. And then the other one is remarkable. So remarkable gives you a 35% chance to create an additional brand, and so we're running 3 of those. So basically the way that works is when we cast once, 2 brands happen. And the reason why we do that, instead of using grand design like Stormbrand does, like I said, is the whole duration thing. You want your brands to pretty much finish as soon as it gets to 20 stacks. And then activating them at the same time when there's 2, since you can always have 2 brands attached to a mob, that'll make it so it starts at the same time and ends at the same time. There's no little tiny stutter in between. For the larges, I went with Sadist, and the reason I go Sadist on it is because we do Chill, Ignite, and Shock, and that is 20 plus 25 plus 15 is 60% elemental damage, which double dips. So that's giving me increased lightning damage and increased cold damage, which also scales Impulsa's explode damage as well. So the way Impulsas works, you can't scale it with spell damage, but you can increase it with lightning damage and elemental damage, and because we're converting it from lightning to cold, it gets the increase on the lightning portion and increase on the cold. So Sadist is extremely strong. We also use Blast Freeze. This is a very strong, and it makes you very not tanky, but this is like the huge quality of life this build has. Pretty much you freeze one enemy, all nearby enemies in a radius of 12 are frozen. So you pretty much freeze everything. Without this, your survivability kind of goes down, but if you have good damage, it's fine. But this is kind of a mandatory. Blast Freeze and Sadist, these 2 I would highly recommend having on one cluster. The other cluster, I have Widespread Destruction and Blanketed Snow for more pen. Uh, so yeah. So the way Penance Brand works, all brands, the activation frequency is affected by cast time, and also, of course, like if you have such things that say like Remarkable, which give cast speed with brand skills. So there is a calculator. And sorry for the flashbang. So basically, cast time, you would set this at 0 if so you would go here and you want to go to file and you want to make a copy. That way you can edit your own. I have mine already set up, so I'll show you guys real quick. So basically, you put your cast time to 0. So what cast time means is how long it takes to cast 2 separate brands. But because we run 3 remarkables, they happen at the same time. So that's why we put cast time as 0. Now the hit rate, you'll go in here into your POB. You input your character. My hit rate is 10.92, right? So we go 10.92. And then it says skill duration. So you go to your calculations and you look for your duration mod, which is 0.88. So we go 0.88. And right now I am at 18 explosion stacks. Now this I believe is, I do have onslaught, right? Yeah. So it says it says 18, but this I don't believe takes account for the newer Divergent Swift brand support, which the alternate quality gives you more activation frequency if 75 attached duration is expired. So if what I mean by that, if you go into here and you go to default, it'll say more hit rate, right? So if I'm using a default, so now I went from 10 point whatever to 11.09. So 11.09. It still says 18, but it has more activation frequency than normal. So this one just has 5% increased activation frequency versus 20% more when there is 75% left, which is a big difference. So with the alternate quality, we definitely hit 20 stacks on explosions. And then pretty much this is what you aim for, basically, is you want to make sure you have no duration anywhere on your tree, so you don't take brand equity like a lot of people do. And all you do is you get attachment range and this for more cast speed, rinsmith. So that's why I path over here and grab the life node here. And then after that is nothing but remarkables and brand loyalty. So you do not want any more than that. Now, if you're don't get enough cast speed, you can't afford it, you can play Stormbrand. Stormbrand works perfectly fine. Just I prefer Penance. It looks cooler. It scales better. In a endgame versus endgame scenario, Penance Brand will always win. And if you're playing with an Orbot, it's perfectly fine. But yeah, so for the helmet, I'll show you guys what a helmet may potentially look like. So my endgame helmet, if we go into ritual and we go to Penance Brand and just sort it by DPS, generically something like this is what we want. So it'll have conk effect, hypo, more LA damage, crit strike chance, fizz the spells, and you would link your Penance Brand into this as a pseudo 8-link. So we'll use that on an Archdemon helmet because the Archdemon helmet gives us free exposure for more damage. So that's what I would prefer to do. For that, boots, like I said, will have life, movement speed, reses, and onslaught with onslaught effect. That's also very good. Belt, we'll try to go for T1 life with T1% life and resistances because we really want to bring up the EHP of this build. It's very squishy at this current given time because we don't have any life anywhere, right? Except the Impulsas has life on it, but the rings don't, the weapons don't, the gloves don't, the helmet won't because it'll be a pseudo 8-link helmet. So we want to try to get as much life elsewhere as we can. And as you're doing Penance Brand, you always want to be keeping check on your hit rate. So if your hit rate, you don't want more cast speed past the 20 explosions. It'll make it feel nicer, but it's not necessary. At that point, I'd rather invest cast speed into life or crit multi and etc. and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to group play, I actually don't run my normal auras, which is Wrath, Hatred, Zealotry. I'll actually run 4 Heralds and Arctic Armor. Arctic Armor just to give a bit of extra Fizz mitigation. And then I would change out one of my brand loyalty and remarkable jewels, and I would throw in this, which is Purposeful Harbinger and Agent of Destruction for more elemental damage to scale your impulses and etc, etc, etc. And of course Purposeful Harbinger, because now we're running 4 Heralds because we don't need all the extra auras since we have an aura bot. That gives us more aura effectiveness, which is really good, gives you more damage. And yeah, this is what I would use in place of this while duoing with a aura bot. But yeah, so far this is what I've come with the build. I plan on, like I said, min-maxing it. Wands, crafted wands can beat void batteries. That would be like a +2 spell damage, T1 cast speed on a profane one with multi, and very, 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 very expensive stuff that will happen much, much later in the league. Void batteries are such a nice, cheap option for endgame weapons. But priorities for me is to craft a better belt, better boots, and of course the pseudo 8-link helmet. The pseudo 8-link helmet will give you tons of damage. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about it, always feel free to stop by the stream. Like I said, I'm not quite familiar with brands. I'm still on a learning curve. So throughout this league, hopefully I'll learn to master them. If you guys have any suggestions or questions, just leave them in the comments below. Or preferably come to my stream. I don't check the YouTube too often, as you guys can tell. I don't make too many videos. I need to get more on top of that. But yeah, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the small brief guide on where I'm at, where I'm potentially going to go, and I will see you guys on the next one.